The Moonstone Pavilion had never been more crowded. Every eligible she-wolf in the Northern Territories pressed forward, their finest silks rustling like autumn leaves as they jostled for position. The air, thick with expensive perfumes, couldn't quite mask the underlying scent of desperation and ambition. Lyrelei Thornweaver stood at the very back, behind even the servants, her head bowed so low her untamed auburn curls formed a curtain around her scarred face. She shouldn't be here. She wouldn't be here if the matriarch hadn't decreed that every unmated female between 18 and 30 must attend. Even the cursed ones, someone whispered nearby, and cruel laughter rippled through the crowd. Lorelei's fingers found the rough texture of the burn scars that traced from her left temple down to her jaw. The marks of her childhood, when she'd tried to save her younger brother from a house fire, and failed. The flames had taken him and left her with a face that made children cry and adults look away. Why did they even let her in? Another voice carried over. She'll curse the whole ceremony. Look at her dress, someone snickered. Is that burlap? It was wool, actually. Common brown wool that Lyrelei had mended so many times the original pattern was lost in patches. She'd tried to dress appropriately, but a laundress's wages didn't stretch to silk. The crystal bell rang 3 times, and silence fell like a blade. The selection had begun. One by one, the she-wolves were called forward to present themselves to the visiting alphas. Each woman would step into the moonlit circle at the pavilion's center, state their name and pack lineage, and wait to see if any alpha would claim interest. Lyrelei watched from her hidden corner as beautiful women were chosen. Seraphina Goldmane, with her perfect features and alpha bloodline, had 4 alphas compete for her. The Silverbrook twins each received multiple offers. Lyrelei Thornweaver! The herald's voice boomed. The crowd parted like she carried plague. Whispers followed her path, cursed, scarred, ugly, worthless. Her legs trembled as she walked toward the circle, keeping her face turned to hide the worst of the scarring. She stepped into the moonlight, and the whispers became laughter. Is this a jest? Someone called out. She insults the ceremony by appearing. No wolf would claim something so damaged. Lyrelei stood frozen, her throat closing as the mockery washed over her. She couldn't even speak her lineage. What was the point? Her parents had been Omegas, the lowest rank. She had no bloodline worth mentioning. I'll give 3 silver coins to whoever gets her out of the circle. An alpha from the eastern packs laughed. She's hurting my eyes. The laughter crescendoed. Lyrelei's vision blurred with unshed tears, but she wouldn't cry. Not here, not in front of them. She'd survived 23 years of this. She could survive another moment. No alpha speaks for this female, the herald began, eager to move past the embarrassment. You are dismissed. Stop. The voice cut through the mockery like thunder through clear sky. Deep, commanding and carrying a power that made every wolf in the pavilion instinctively bare their neck in submission. A figure rose from the shadows at the very edge of the pavilion. He'd been sitting among the common soldiers, wearing a simple black cloak with no pack insignia. Nobody had noticed him. How had nobody noticed him? He moved toward the circle with fluid, controlled steps, and the crowd scrambled back. As he walked, his very presence seemed to darken the air around him. The cheerful moonlight turned silver cold. Did you not hear me? His voice carried deadly softness. I said stop. The herald's face went white. My lord? The stranger reached the circle's edge and pushed back his hood. Sharp cheekbones, storm-gray eyes that held ancient power, and midnight black hair that seemed to swallow light. But it wasn't his harsh beauty that made the crowd gasp. It was the moment every wolf recognized the raw, undeniable power radiating from him. Impossible, someone whispered. King Zarek? The Alpha King. The one who ruled all packs. The one who'd united the territories through blood and brilliance. The one who never attended common ceremonies. He stepped into the circle, his eyes never leaving Lorelai's face. She waited for the disgust, the revulsion. Instead, his expression held something that looked like recognition, like coming home. "She's my Luna," he declared, his voice carrying to every corner of the pavilion. "Mine." The silence that followed King Zarek's declaration was absolute. Lorelai couldn't breathe. This had to be a dream. The Alpha King himself, declaring her as his Luna? "Your Majesty," the herald stammered. "Surely you mean, perhaps you haven't seen clearly in this light?" Zarek's eyes flashed gold, and the herald's words died in his throat. "Are you questioning my choice?" No, Your Majesty." "Then why does my Luna still stand alone?" Lorelai found her voice, though it came out as barely a whisper. "There must be a mistake." His gaze returned to her, and the intensity made her knees weak. "There is no mistake." "But you don't even know me," she protested. "Don't I?" He moved closer, and she caught his scent, pine forests and winter storms, and something wild that called to a part of her she'd never acknowledged. "Lyralee Thornweaver, 23 years old. Lost your parents to fever when you were 16. You work in the pack house laundry. You sing while you work, but only when you think no one listens. You feed the alley cats behind the kitchens every night, even when it means you go hungry." Her mouth fell open. "How do you—" "You saved a child from drowning last summer," he continued, circling her slowly. "Jumped into the rapids without thinking. Nearly died yourself. The Pack Alpha gave the credit to his son to avoid acknowledging an Omega's heroism. Each word was truth, but how could he know?" "Your Majesty," one of the visiting Alphas interrupted. "With respect, this female is scarred. She cannot stand as Luna to all wolves." The temperature plummeted. Frost spread across the pavilion floor from where Zarek stood. His power unfurled like a living thing, pressing down until several wolves dropped to their knees. "Say that again," he invited softly. "Please, call my mate cursed once more." The Alpha's face went gray. "Forgive me, Your Majesty." "You will address her as Luna," Zarek commanded. "All of you will. Anyone who shows her disrespect challenges me personally." He turned back to Lorelai and extended his hand. "Come." She stared at his outstretched fingers. "I don't understand what's happening." "You will." His expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Trust me, please." Against every instinct, she placed her trembling hand in his. The moment their skin touched, electricity shot through her entire body. Not painful, but alive. Like touching lightning that knew her name. His fingers tightened around hers, and she saw his eyes widen slightly. He felt it too. "We leave now," he announced to the pavilion. "But Your Majesty," the matriarch ventured, "the ceremony. Traditions must be observed." "The only tradition I care about is that no one touches what's mine." His voice dropped to a growl. "And she is mine." He led her through the crowd, her small hand engulfed in his. Wolves who had mocked her moments before now bowed deeply. She caught Serafina Goldmane's stunned expression. Outside, a line of black cars waited. Zarek guided her to the center car, opening the door himself. "Your Majesty," she began as she slid inside. "Zarek," he corrected, following her in. "When we're alone, just Zarek. I can't call the Alpha King by his given name." "You can, and you will." He settled beside her, maintaining a careful distance. "You're my Luna. My equal." The car pulled away, and Lorelai watched the Moonstone Pavilion disappear. "Where are we going?" "Shadowcrest Citadel. My home." He paused. "Our home." "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why choose me?" "You could have anyone. Perfect she-wolves without—" She gestured to her scarred face. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Do you dream, Lorelai?" The question was so unexpected she blinked. "Everyone dreams." "But do you dream of running?" Of forests that don't exist in waking life? Of a wolf with unusual markings calling to you? Her blood chilled. She did dream those things, had for years. A wolf with one gold eye and one silver, always waiting at the edge of her dreams. Sometimes in those dreams, wounded creatures would approach her, and warmth would flow from her hands. Not quite natural, not quite possible. Her grandmother had been known as a healer, had taught her about herbs and the body's hidden points, ways to ease pain that seemed almost magical. But surely that was just knowledge, not actual magic. How do you know that? He turned to look out the window at the passing darkness. Because I dream of you too. Have since I was 15. A girl with autumn fire hair and eyes like the sea after storms. A girl who would stand in moonlight while others mocked her, but wouldn't break. That's impossible. Many impossible things are true. He looked back at her. You don't feel the pull? The recognition? She did. Had from the moment he'd stood in the pavilion, like every cell in her body suddenly remembered something vital it had forgotten. I feel insane, she admitted. Perhaps we both are. His smile was sharp as broken glass. But if this is madness, I choose it over sanity. Shadowcrest Citadel rose from the mountains like it had been carved from the stone itself, all black spires and gleaming windows that reflected the moon. It's terrifying, she said without thinking, then caught herself. I mean, magnificent? It's terrifying, he agreed. 4 centuries of Alpha Kings have added to it. The car wound up a road carved into the mountainside, passing through 3 gates. Guards bowed as the vehicle passed, but Lirali caught their curious glances. Inside the citadel, she found unexpected warmth, enormous fireplaces, thick carpets, and tapestries depicting pack histories. Zarek led her through corridors lined with portraits of previous Alpha Kings and their Lunas. All the women were breathtaking, ethereal beauties with perfect features. Tomorrow, your portrait will be commissioned, he said. I'll look rather out of place. He stopped abruptly. You'll look like what you are. Mine. The possessiveness should have frightened her. Instead, it sent heat curling through her belly. A woman appeared, elderly but moving with grace. Her silver hair was braided in the complex pattern of the northern packs. Your Majesty, she bowed, then looked at Lirale. And this must be our new Luna. Lirale, this is Mirin, the Citadel's keeper. She'll help you settle in. Which chambers should I prepare? Myron asked carefully. The Queen's Tower. Myron's eyes widened. The Queen's Tower hasn't been opened since my mother died? Yes. His voice brooked no argument. Open it now. He turned to Lirale. You need rest. Tomorrow will bring challenges enough. He was leaving? Panic fluttered in her chest. He must have sensed her distress because he stepped closer. You're safe here. No one will harm you. Why do I feel like I know you? The question slipped out. It doesn't make sense, but when you stood up in that pavilion, something in me recognized you. His hand rose as if to touch her face, then dropped. Because you do know me. Your soul knows mine. Your wolf knows mine, even if she's sleeping. My wolf? She almost laughed. I never shifted. Another reason I'm the worst possible choice for Luna. His eyes flashed with something unreadable. You have a wolf. She's just waiting. For what? For me. Before she could ask what that meant, he was gone. Mirin led her up a spiral staircase. The Queen's Tower is the highest point of the Citadel. It's been sealed for 15 years since Queen Liana passed. Zarek's mother? Yes. He was only 13 when she died. You're the first person he's allowed in her spaces. The tower doors were enormous, carved with moon phases and running wolves. Inside was stunning. circular rooms with windows overlooking the territory. The bedroom took Lyrale's breath away. A bed draped in silver and midnight blue, a bathroom with black marble, a closet filled with exquisite clothes. "I don't belong here," Lyrale said quietly. "The king says you do. That's all that matters." Mirren moved toward the door. "Rest now. Tomorrow the council will convene. They'll challenge the king's choice." After Mirren left, Lyrale found a portrait. A beautiful woman with Zarek's sharp cheekbones. Queen Lyanna. A knock interrupted her thoughts. She opened the door to find Zarek. "I wanted to check that you're comfortable." "It's overwhelming," she admitted. "May I come in?" She stepped aside. He entered slowly, looking around with old pain in his eyes. "You loved her very much," Lyrale observed. "She was everything a mother should be." He touched the portrait frame. "She would have liked you." "You can't know that." "She told me once that the strongest Luna isn't the one who never falls, but the one who rises every time she's knocked down." He looked at her meaningfully. "You're still standing." His hand rose to her face, hovering just above the scars. "May I?" She nodded. His fingers traced the mark so gently she barely felt it, but that electric sensation from before sparked everywhere he touched. Deep in her chest, something stirred, a faint warmth, like an ember that had been carefully banked but never fully extinguished. "Beautiful," he murmured. "They're hideous. They're proof of courage, of sacrifice." His hand dropped. "Rest. Tomorrow will be difficult." He moved toward the door, but she called out, "Zarek? What if they're right? What if you're making a terrible mistake?" He turned back, and his eyes held that ancient gold again. "Then it's my mistake to make." "But Lyrale, I've never been more certain of anything in my life." After he left, she stood at the window looking out over thousands of lights spreading into the distance. Deep in her chest, something stirred. Not quite a growl, not quite human. And in her core, that ember of warmth pulsed gently, as if responding to something only it could sense. "Waiting," Zarek had said. For the first time, Lyrale thought she might actually have more than she ever imagined inside her. Dawn came too quickly. The council chamber was designed to intimidate. 13 ancient chairs arranged in a circle, each representing one of the original packs. Lyrale stood in the center, dressed in burgundy that somehow made her scars less noticeable. "State your name for the record," commanded Elder Theron, a wolf so old his hair had gone white as fresh snow. "Lyrale Thornweaver." "Your pack?" "Northern Valley Pack." "Your rank?" "Omega." Whispers erupted. She kept her chin up, though her hands trembled. "Your bloodline?" Elder Theron continued. "My parents were also Omegas. I have no notable lineage." "And yet," Elder Selene leaned forward, her green eyes sharp, "our king claims you as his Luna. Tell us, girl, what enchantment did you use?" "I used no dash." "Silence." Selene stood, her power pressing against Lyrale's skin. "No Alpha King in 4 centuries has chosen below Beta rank. You expect us to believe he simply chose you? With that face? With no wolf?" "Enough, Selene." Zarek's voice was quiet but carried weight. "No, Your Majesty," Elder Marcus interrupted. "The council has rights. We demand the 3 trials." "3 trials?" Lyrale asked. "Ancient law," Elder Theron explained. "If the council doubts a Luna's worthiness, we may demand proof. Strength, wisdom, and spirit. The first trial begins at sunset today, the second at dawn tomorrow, the third at sunset tomorrow. Many have died attempting them." "She accepts," Zarek said. "No." Lyrale stepped forward. "I speak for myself. I accept." Something flickered in Zarek's eyes. Surprise, perhaps pride. As the council filed out, Zarek remained. "You shouldn't have accepted." "Did I have a choice?" "If you force this, they'll never accept me." He moved toward her with controlled intensity. You could die. I've been dying slowly my whole life, she said quietly. At least this would have meaning. He stopped inches from her. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Fear. Tears. Would you have preferred that? No. His hand rose to cup her cheek. Your courage makes me want to. He cut himself off, stepping back. Makes you want to what? His eyes flashed gold. Things that would require the marking ceremony first. Heat flooded her cheeks as understanding dawned. The marking ceremony, where mates bid each other, claiming and bonding for life. So we wait. We wait. That evening, sunset painted the training yard crimson. Lyrale faced Katara, a she-wolf who shifted immediately into wolf form. Lyrale couldn't shift, had never been able to. Survive 10 minutes, Elder Selene announced from the viewing platform. Katara circled, then lunged. Lyrale dodged, her body moving on instinct with grace she didn't possess. Her grandmother's lessons surfaced. Dodge here, pivot there, use their momentum against them. 5 minutes passed. 7, 8, 9. Lyrale stumbled, exhaustion making her slow. Katara lunged for the killing blow. Time slowed. Deep in Lyrale's chest, something primal stirred. Power flooded her limbs. Instead of dodging, she met the wolf head-on. Her hands caught Katara's jaws, holding them open inches from her face. She pushed, and Katara flew backward. Time! Elder Theron called, stunned. Lyrale looked at her hands. Her nails had extended into partial claws, the first hint of transformation. Not fully wolf, not fully human. What am I? She whispered. The viewing platform had gone silent. Even Zarek looked shocked. Elder Selene's face had gone white. It's not possible. The old blood died out centuries ago. What old blood? Lyrale demanded. From the shadows of the great archway, an ancient woman emerged, Grandmother Talaya, keeper of the pack histories, moved with surprising steadiness despite her age. Her eyes, clouded with centuries of life, seemed to see beyond the physical world into something deeper. Lycanborn, she said simply, her voice carrying the weight of ages. Or perhaps, something more. Time will tell, child. The old blood always finds a way to surface when the packs need it most. A howl rose from deep within the citadel, not from any wolf throat, but from the very stones themselves. An ancient sound that made every wolf present bare their neck in submission. The claws retracted, leaving her normal again, but she could feel it now, that dormant strength sleeping just beneath her skin. Not just a wolf, but something older. Something that had been waiting. The second trial came at dawn, the test of wisdom. Lyrale stood before a door carved with symbols that hurt to look at directly. Behind this door are 3 challenges of the mind, Elder Marcus explained. Many who enter never return, lost in their own minds. Open the door. The moment she stepped through, the world shifted. She stood in a vast library with 3 pedestals. The first held a mirror showing truth. The second, a crown promising power. The third, a simple wooden box. Choose, a voice echoed. Only one choice leads forward. The mirror showed every cruel word ever spoken about her written across her skin. She turned away. That wasn't truth, just perception. The crown flooded her mind with visions of power, of punishing everyone who'd hurt her. Tempting, but power without wisdom was tyranny. She released it. The wooden box sat silent, offering nothing. No visions, no promises. Just worn wood and a simple lock. She picked it up, and the lock fell open. Inside was a single seed. Wisdom, the voice said, is knowing that the mightiest tree begins with the smallest seed. The library dissolved. She stood in a plague-consumed village. You can save them, but one must die. Choose who dies. She walked among the dying until an elder gripped her hand. "I've lived my seasons. Let me give meaning to my ending." She held his hand as he passed, and the plague lifted. The village faded. Now she stood in the throne room with Zarek on the throne, eyes solid black with corruption. "You can save him by taking his place. Accept the corruption into yourself." Without hesitation, Lorelei placed her hand over Zarek's chest. The darkness flowed into her like liquid ice, trying to hollow her out. But that hidden force rose up, not fighting the darkness but absorbing it, transforming it. The corruption hit that power and simply dissolved. Reality snapped back. Elder Marcus stared at her. 20 minutes. The fastest recorded time was 3 hours. You didn't just pass. You solved the unsolvable. The corruption test. No one has ever neutralized it before. Zarek emerged from the shadows. You took corruption into yourself. In the trial. It was just an illusion. The trials tap into possible futures. He cupped her face. You would take corruption into yourself to save me? Without hesitation? His control snapped. He pulled her against him, his mouth claiming hers with desperate hunger. The kiss was possession and promise. That electric connection exploded into full life, and Lorelei felt her mysterious power rise to meet his. The ember in her chest flared brighter, wanting to flow into him, to soothe something broken she sensed within. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were solid gold. "One more trial," he said roughly. "Survive one more trial, and nothing will keep me from marking you." "Zarek?" Elder Celine's voice cut through the moment. "We need to talk." Alone. As she walked back to her tower, she heard Celine's voice carrying. "She's Lycanborn, isn't she? That's why you chose her." "I didn't know," Zarek replied. "Not until today." "The Lycanborn bloodline died out." "Apparently not. But perhaps she's more than just Lycanborn. Perhaps she's what the old prophecies spoke of. The lost moon, who would return when the Pax needed them most. Lycanborn. The lost moon. The dormant strength in her blood pulsed in recognition. Grandmother Talia had mentioned such prophecies existed, written in books so old they crumbled at a touch. The third trial came at sunset, announced before the entire citadel. Hundreds of wolves surrounded the platform. "The test of spirit," Elder Theron announced. "You must prove you have the will to be Luna by showing us your wolf." "I've never fully shifted," Lorelei said steadily. "Every wolf can shift." Elder Celine smiled coldly. "Unless they're not truly wolf at all. Unless they're Lycanborn, descendants of the original Lycans who were neither fully wolf nor fully human. Monsters that nearly destroyed our kind." The crowd gasped, stepping back from the platform. "The law is clear," Elder Marcus said uncomfortably. "Lycanborn cannot hold position in any pack." "She's done nothing wrong." Zarek's voice was deadly quiet. "Yet," Selene countered. "History shows what happens when Lycanborn gain power. They go mad." "You're judging her for crimes she hasn't committed?" "Show us your wolf," Selene challenged Lorelei. "Let us see what you really are." Something inside Lorelei snapped. She reached for that hidden force in her blood. The change wasn't like normal shifting. Her bones didn't break. They transformed. One moment she was human. The next she stood 8 feet tall. Neither wolf nor woman, but something between. Fur like liquid silver. Built for both beauty and violence. Her claws could rend stone. But her eyes remained sea green, aware, intelligent, human. The crowd scrambled back in terror. But Zarek leaped onto the platform, placing himself between Lorelei and everyone else. "The first wolf to attack her dies by my hand." "She's an abomination," Selene shouted. "She's magnificent." He reached out slowly, touching her transformed face with absolute trust. "The old stories were wrong," he said loudly. "The Lycanborn weren't monsters who went mad. They were protectors who sacrificed everything, taking corruption into themselves to save others. Grandmother Talia stepped forward again, her ancient voice carrying clearly. I was there during the last Lycanborn's life. Lady Senna saved 10,000 wolves from the dark plague by taking it into herself. We hunted them not because they were monsters, but because we feared their power. The risk, Elder Marcus began, is mine to take, Zarek interrupted. As your king, I claim this woman as my mate. He turned to Lyrele. Change back. Show them you control it. She focused, and the power receded easily. Within moments, she stood human again. The trials are complete, Zarek announced. She has passed all 3. He carried her from the platform while the crowd parted in fearful awe. In her tower room, Zarek laid her gently on the bed. You defended me, she whispered. I will always defend you. Even though I'm Lycanborn? You took corruption into yourself to save an illusion of me. You think I care what blood runs in your veins? He kissed her forehead. Rest. Tomorrow, we complete the bond. What if they're right? What if I do go mad? Then I'll go mad with you. He moved toward the door. But Lyrele? I think the only madness here is how long it took me to find you. After he left, she lay staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, the marking ceremony. If they survived until tomorrow. Because outside her window she could see shadows gathering, wolves moving with purpose toward the citadel walls. Lyrele woke to shattering glass. Figures in black dropped through her window. She scrambled from bed as the first attacker lunged. The Lycan heritage surged. Her hand caught his wrist, twisting until bone snapped. Take her alive if possible, one commanded, Katara from the combat trial. Dead if necessary. Celine sends her regards. 3 wolves circled Lyrele. Her partial shift happened instantly. Claws extended, strength magnified. She fought with brutal efficiency. A howl cut through the chaos. Zarek burst through her door in wolf form, powerful and black as shadows. Behind him came guards, with Mirren among them, surprisingly fierce despite her age. The citadel is under attack, Mirren called out, dodging a strike with practiced ease. 2,000 wolves surround us. Celine's recruited every malcontent from here to the eastern borders. Get her to the safe room, Zarek commanded. No, Lyrele said. I'm not hiding while others die for me. They fought their way through the citadel. Lyrele had never killed before, but when she saw a wolf about to gut Myren, her claws found his throat without hesitation. The Great Hall was chaos. At its center stood Celine, watching with satisfaction. Surprised, she called out. The Pax will never accept a Lycanborn Luna. The Pax don't get a vote, Zarek snarled. They do when their king is dead. Selene pulled out a blade gleaming sickly green. Wolfsbane extract, concentrated, 1 cut, and even an Alpha King dies. She threw it at Lyrele. Time slowed. Zarek moved to intercept, but he wouldn't be fast enough. Lyrele reached for her Lycan form, but deeper. The change was instantaneous. Where a scarred woman had stood, now towered an enormous wolf. Fur gleaming silver-white like moonlight itself. She stood taller than even Zarek in wolf form. When the poisoned blade hit her, it simply dissolved. A true Lycan, Grandmother Talia whispered from the doorway, having arrived with reinforcements. Not Lycanborn, a pure Lycan. The prophecies were true. Celine stumbled backward. Kill it! But her allies were already fleeing. Lyrele stalked toward Selene, instincts singing for blood. She lunged and stopped inches from Selene's throat, held back by Zarek's command. Don't let her make you into the monster she claims you are. Lyrele pulled back, shifting to human. You're banished, Zarek told Selene. You and every wolf who followed you tonight. As Selene fled, the wolves who'd witnessed the fight knelt. Not from command, but from genuine reverence. A true Lycan, fighting for our pack, a young wolf said in awe. The marking ceremony happens now, Zarek announced. I won't wait another moment. They shifted to wolf forms, her gleaming silver white, his midnight black. They circled each other while the pack watched. Zarek bit first, claiming her before all. Their souls began to merge. Love, desire, possessive protection. Then her turn. Her teeth found his throat, and she bit deep. The bond completed fully. Mine, her wolf sang. Yours, his responded. Always. When they shifted back, the marks were vivid on both their throats. Your Luna, Zarek announced. My mate. Dawn brought an army to their gates. 3,000 wolves from the southern pack surrounded Shadowcrest Citadel, led by Alpha Prime Alaric Blackstone with Selene beside him. This was a different, larger force than the attack from the night before. They demand parley, the guard reported. From the tower, Lirali looked down at the sea of enemies. Her bond with Zarek hummed with shared determination. Alaric's wanted my throne for years, Zarek said quietly. Selene gave him his excuse. What does he want? She asked. You. Dead or captive. With you gone and me weakened from the bond breaking, he could take everything. Then we give him what he wants, she said. Zarek's head snapped toward her. Absolutely not. Hear me out. He expects a monster. What if we show him something else? Before he could stop her, she was descending the tower. The gates opened at her command. Lirali walked out alone, wearing a simple white dress that made her scars visible. No armor, no weapons. She approached Alaric, towering and cruel-looking. The abomination comes willingly? He laughed. I come to prevent bloodshed. Her voice carried clearly. You've been told I'm a monster. I'm here to show you the truth. The truth is written on your face, Selene spat. Ugly, scarred. Yes, Lyrali interrupted. I am scarred. These marks came from trying to save my brother from a fire. I failed. He died. I lived. She touched her scars. For years, I believed they made me worthless. But they also mean I survived. Is survival monstrous? The army had gone quiet. You're still Lycanborn. Dangerous, Alaric said, though something flickered in his expression. Not Lycanborn. True Lycan. Shall I show you? She shifted. The white wolf that stood before them was powerful but calm, sitting peacefully. Several enemy wolves knelt instinctively. She shifted back. I could have attacked. Instead, I sit. I reason. Where is this madness you were promised? Test me, she said. Choose your strongest fighter. Victor stepped forward, 7 feet of muscle and scars. No shifted forms. Just skill. He lunged. Lyrali moved like water, striking where her grandmother had taught her. Throat, solar plexus, knee. Victor collapsed, gasping but alive. Face me. Selene stepped forward with another poisoned blade. Lycan's bane, the one poison that works on your kind. She lunged. Lyrali caught the blade with her bare hand. The poison entered her bloodstream, black veins spreading up her arm. The army watched in shock. The Lycan heritage rose. Not to fight the poison, but to absorb it. Transform it. The black veins turned silver, then white, then faded. Your poisons don't work because I don't fight them, she explained. I accept them. Transform them. This is what Lycans truly were. Purifiers. We took corruption into ourselves to save others. She turned to Alaric. You came expecting a monster. Instead, you find a woman who just wants to protect her home. Attack if you must, but every death will be on your head. Alaric studied her, then laughed. Selene, you promised me a rabid beast. Instead, I find a Luna more worthy than most born to the title. He looked at his army. We're leaving. You can't, Selene protested. I won't have history record me as the alpha who slaughtered a true Lycan protecting her home. He bowed slightly to Lyrelai. Luna, may your reign be long. As the army withdrew, Selene pulled a silver blade and threw it at Lyrelai's back. Zarek intercepted it, the blade piercing his chest. He collapsed, silver poisoning flooding his system. No! Lyrelai dropped beside him, her hands glowing with desperate power, not just lichen strength, but the healing gift that had always flowed through her grandmother's bloodline, now amplified by her lichen blood into something extraordinary. She poured everything into him. Life force, love, the essence of their bond. The silver poisoning fought, but she fought harder. Finally, he stirred. You saved me. You saved me first. Selene. Alaric's voice was ice. You violated Parley. Her life is yours, Luna. Banishment, Lyralee said. True banishment from all packs. Live as Omega among humans. Mercy? Selene spat. Not mercy. Live knowing you created what you tried to prevent. A lichen Luna, accepted by all. As Selene was dragged away, Alaric smiled. The southern packs will spread word. The lost moon has returned, bringing healing, not destruction. Myron appeared at Lyrelai's side, having followed them out with other witnesses. The prophecy fulfilled at last. She murmured with deep satisfaction. I knew the moment I saw you that you were special, child. 3 moons later, the great hall overflowed with representatives from every pack, north, south, east, and west. Not for war, but for celebration. Lyrali stood beside Zarek on the dais, wearing a gown of silver and midnight blue that complemented rather than hid her scars. The girl who'd hidden at the back of the Moonstone Pavilion now stood as Luna before thousands. The lost moon has returned, Elder Theron announced, his previous skepticism replaced with genuine respect. And with her, the ancient gifts thought lost, healing, purification, protection. In the months since the confrontation with Alaric, everything had changed. Lyralai's healing magic, no longer hidden, had saved dozens of wolves from illnesses thought incurable. Her ability to absorb and transform corruption had cleansed 3 poisoned water sources, and her mere presence had united packs that had been enemies for generations. You've brought peace, Zarek murmured, his hand finding hers. Something 4 centuries of Alpha Kings couldn't achieve through force, you did, through compassion. We did it together, she corrected. She sensed his pride and love flowing freely between them, his wonder that she was his. A young wolf approached the dais, a girl no more than 16, her face bearing burn scars that covered half her features. She'd traveled from the furthest eastern pack just to see the Luna, who proved scars didn't determine worth. Luna, the girl said, voice trembling. Is it true? What they say about you? Lyralee stepped down from the dais, kneeling before the girl so they were eye level. What do they say? That you were rejected and mocked. But you became the strongest Luna in history. I was mocked, Lyralee said gently. I was rejected. For 23 years I believed I was worthless because of these. She touched her own scars. But scars are just proof we survived something that tried to destroy us. They're proof of our strength, not our weakness. The girl's eyes filled with tears. My pack says I'll never find a mate, that no wolf would want someone so damaged. Lyrelai took the girl's hands. Your pack is wrong. You are not damaged. You're a survivor. And someday, the right wolf will see you for who you truly are, not just what marks your skin. She stood, addressing the entire hall. Let this be declared. In our territory, no wolf will be judged by their appearance, their rank, or their bloodline. Worth comes from actions, from character, from the choice to keep fighting when everything seems lost. The hall erupted in howls of approval. Later, as the celebration continued, Zarek pulled her onto a balcony overlooking their territory. Do you regret it? He asked. If I hadn't chosen you that night, you'd still be living quietly, safely. Hiding, you mean? She turned in his arms. Living in shadows, pretending to be less than I am. You didn't just choose me, Zarek. You freed me. You freed yourself. I just gave you the opportunity. She laughed, the sound carrying joy that would have seemed impossible months ago. We make quite the pair. The Alpha King who defied tradition and the Luna who shouldn't exist. The Alpha King who found his soulmate, he corrected, pulling her closer. And the Luna who brought peace to the Pax. A knock interrupted them. Mirren entered, her usually composed face glowing with excitement. Your Majesties, she bowed. The healers have confirmed it. The Luna is with child. Zarek went absolutely still. Joy exploded through their bond like sunrise. A child? He whispered. Children, Mirren corrected with delight. Twins, the first lichen cubs in 5 centuries. Lyrelai's hand went to her still flat stomach in wonder. New life grew there. Proof that lichens weren't extinct, that the ancient bloodline would continue. They'll be born into a world where difference is celebrated, she said softly. Where scars don't determine worth. Where being unique is a strength. They'll be born to the strongest Luna who ever lived, Zarek said, dropping to his knees and pressing his forehead to her stomach. And I will spend every day showing them what their mother taught me. That true beauty comes from surviving, from compassion, from choosing love over fear. As news spread through the hall, the celebration intensified. The Omega who'd been rejected now carried the future of the Lichen bloodline. The girl who'd hidden her gifts now stood as beacon of hope for every wolf who'd ever felt less than worthy. Grandmother Talia approached them, her ancient eyes bright with joy. The prophecy spoke of this, she said softly. The lost moon would not only return, but ensure the lichens would never be lost again. Looking out over the celebrating Pax, Lyrelai thought of that terrified girl standing in the Moonstone Pavilion, believing she was worthless. If only she could have seen this moment, chosen, loved, carrying new life, and changing the world not despite her scars, but because she'd learned to see them as proof of her strength. No regrets, she told Zarek, sealing the words with a kiss that sparked through their bond. Not a single one. The lost moon had risen, and with her light, even the darkest shadows learned to shine.